It is your Classic Metal Show right here on the ClassicMetalShow.com. That is Joel Hoekstra from his 13 project. Of course, you might know Joel from Night Ranger as well as currently Whitesnake. And Joel is a phenomenal guitarist in his own right. And we are glad to have Joel on the show to talk about his latest release called Dying to Live. And we've been dying to talk to this guy. So welcome to the Classic Metal Show there, Joel.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Joel. Well, Joel, I'm very curious about you on a personal level. The Classic Metal Show is based out of Chicago, and I know that you have some ties in Chicago. And, you've had the opportunity to play with a lot of what we consider classic metal artists, and you seem to have a lot of friends in the business. So my curiosity comes from being that you're not a household name per se. How did you break into the business, and how did you get so, involved with having so many, I don't know what you want to call connections or friends?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to give a short answer to that because my career has been a series of baby steps. But in terms of getting started in the classic rock scene, when I grew up in Orland Park, as you said, the suburbs of Chicago. I fast forward many, many years. This is an awkward story to tell, just because it's so much info to try and edit down. But I started playing with this guy, Jim Peterick, who founded the Ides of March and Survivor. People would know him for, the guy who wrote Eye of the Tiger. And
absolutely.
Wrote all those Survivor hits. He co-wrote those great 38 special songs, High on You, Hold on Loosely. Anyway, he would have these events once a year called World Stage, and I was in the house band for that. So Jim would have his friends or guys he'd written with or worked with come out and sing their hits. Got to play with a lot of really cool people on those shows, like Rick Emmett from Triumph and Alan Parsons and Kip Winger, David Pack from Ambrosia. I mean, the list would go on and on. Anyway, one of the artists was Kelly Kagi from Night Ranger. So I'd see him once a year for like 7 years. And we got to know each other, even though we would just see each other once a year, and that led to me getting a chance at the Night Ranger gig, which I ended up getting. And from there, I got the show Rock of Ages in New York on Broadway, and also touring with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and now Whitesnake. So it's been a series of steps, one by one, that has gotten me more and more well-known, I would say. Although you're right, I'm not a household name. I'm far from Slash or Jimmy Page. So, but I appreciate the opportunity. I love playing rock guitar, and definitely try and give the fans their money's worth, man, when they come to hear anything I'm involved in.
Sure, absolutely. Well, guys like you who worship their guitar and perfect their playing and their virtuoso ability. There's a lot of guys out there who don't get that break, who are as good or better than a lot of the most well-known guys out there. And do you consider yourself catching a lucky break? I mean, obviously your talent speaks for itself, but until somebody discovers you or gives you that chance, or you have that first opportunity to step into the limelight, as it were, you might be a guy playing in the Chicago bars still.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the answer to that is yes and no, because it is definitely hard work creating better luck. So a lot of it has just been having the work ethic and constantly being working on it. But at the same time, yeah, I would say I would be more into using the term blessed, than lucky, because I think you kind of can create the luck and create opportunities for yourself, but it doesn't always have to work out. So then again, you're blessed when you get the opportunity to do it. And I certainly wouldn't want to say I'm not lucky to have my job. So hard thing to summarize, I guess, once again. But let's go with blessed and not lucky. How about that?
All right. Well, absolutely. Well, the thing is you threw something in there that over 20 years of doing the Classic Metal Show and talking to literally hundreds of artists, one of the things that's important is a work ethic and reliability. And I'm going to assume that you probably never fell prey to substance problems that caused you to miss a gig or not be able to perform or whatnot. You've probably been a upstanding, reliable guy your entire career. Am I right in that assessment?
Yeah, too early in the game for me to get that far in on that, right? I think that's for guys who are like immensely successful, enormously successful, and then you. Yeah, I mean, look, I've had my fun and definitely enjoyed moments of feeling like, hey, this is cool, I'm rocking now, I'm in a cool band or whatever, But yeah, in general, it's definitely always come down to being responsible and getting the work done.
Sure, absolutely. Now, who do you take your influences from as far as your guitar is concerned? And everybody has their influences. If I played guitar, which I don't, if I did play guitar, I think my influences would have definitely been like a Terry Kath from the band Chicago, or even George Lynch from Dokken. So who would you say is the most influential guitarist in your, looking back?
I don't know if I'd necessarily have one. I've learned from everybody I've worked with, number one, which those guys end up being big influences on me, people I've been in bands with over the years. I had great guitar teachers when I was young that I would count among those people. My parents, who are classical musicians, I would count amongst those people. Some of my favorite things starting out were just the hard rock bands. AC/DC was huge for me. I wanted to be Angus Young when I first saw him, so seeing him and him making me want to play guitar was a big moment. But AC/DC, Sabbath, Ozzy, Iron Maiden, Scorpions is what I started with, and then being into more melodic bands, Journey, Boston, and things like that, and progressive bands like Rush and Yes were big influences. And I also grew up in the years where those guitar albums were really big, Satriani, Vai, Yngwie, all those guys to a degree, and I love classic rock too, like older bands. I love The Doors, I love Pink Floyd, and Led Zeppelin, of course. So all that stuff kind of just mix it all together, and that's what I am.
Right. Well, obviously, your current position in Whitesnake, obviously a blues-based, guitar-driven band, with a harder edge. How would you describe your guitar style?
I would say I'm a guy who enjoys playing all styles, but definitely it all kind of comes back to rock for me. There's just something about the energy of it that just feels correct, and it seems to bring out the best in me emotionally and what connects with people. So a lot of the stuff that made me want to start guitar is what comes out of me best, I find. After all the years of dabbling in all the different styles, I spent time playing classical and jazz and whatever. I've done all kinds of gigs over my career, but yeah, it's an honor to be a part of Whitesnake, and the blues is in there for me too, man. I grew up in Chicago, so I've done plenty of blues gigs in my life and playing that style of music. So my main thing is I just don't want to have to learn to do anything else, because I don't know how to do anything else. I think I'd be screwed.
Sure.
If I had to wait tables or something, I don't even think I'd be good at that.
So saying welcome to McDonald's, can I take your order, please? That's off the table.
Yeah. So I guess if you had to describe me as a guitar player, I just want to play music on a high level and make a living doing it, man. That's it. That's success for me.
Sure. Well, I would say that, given the opportunities that you've had, playing with the Rock of Ages and, of course, Night Ranger, and now with Whitesnake, I think that you're probably fulfilling the dream. What do you think?
I think so. I think step by step, all things are relative. It's I just try and treat it professionally and treat it like a job, and make sure that I'm, like I said, giving the fans their hard-earned money's worth, and I want to make sure I'm bringing my A game every night, and it sounds cheesy, but being the best I can be. It's
right.
Like the Army campaign or whatever, be all that you can be. But that's true. I just want to, I don't want to take this for granted, the opportunity that I'm getting to have a career, and I'm appreciative of it.
Sure, absolutely. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, and believe me, we appreciate people who put in, the hard work and become successful in their own right, and just do all the right things and believe in, their craft and their ability. Now, going to your project here, you just call it 13, and I guess the cliche question would be, outside of the fact that 13 is considered the unlucky number, etc., why Joe Hoekstra's 13?
Well, I wanted to give it a project name because years ago I released 3 solo albums that were predominantly instrumental guitar stuff. So it was very obvious that it was a guitar player's album. It made sense to have it called Joel Hoekstra. But as I've become more and more well known for this melodic hard rock genre, you know, I'm of the fans of Night Ranger and Whitesnake and Rock of Ages and Trans-Siberian Orchestra have been saying, how come you don't make an album that's just like rock stuff, like cool rock songs? And which sounded great to me. I was like, sure, great, when I get time. And I finally managed to get the time to be able to put this out. And so it was this weird situation where if you put it in and listen to it, it sounds very much just like listening to a band, but the reality is I did all the writing on it, the lyrics and the melodies and the whole 9 yards. So it wasn't fair to call it a band name, and it didn't seem like it sounded like a guitar player's solo album because it just sounds like vocal songs to me. So I thought a project name was the most appropriate thing, and Joel Hoekstra's 13 was what I went with. For me, 13 has always been a bit of a lucky number, but I always wanted something that could be read different ways it could mean different things to different people, I guess is the phrase I'm looking for.
Sure.
So something that was a little open-ended in the listener's mind.
Right, absolutely. Well, you know, you've got this new CD, Dying to Live. So what's the story behind the title?
Well, most of the songs, whether fantasy-based or reality-based, are just kind of about eliminating the obstacles in your life to arrive where you're finally meant to be, is the phrase I've come up with to best describe it. It's just kind of about the struggles in life to be the person you want to be. I think everybody's got something going on in their life, as self-improvement and things like that we're battling with. And so it's basically just about that. It's just about finally arriving where you're meant to be through winning a lot of those battles.
Right, absolutely. Well, you got a whole cavalcade of you know, very well-known musicians participating in this new release for you. You know, just running down a few names here. You got Derek Sherinian and as well as Tony Franklin and, you know, Russell Allen and these guys, Jeff Scott Soto, which happens to be very good friends of ours, and Vinny Appice, who's a very close personal friend of mine. Good people to be a part of a performance like this. So what does it take for Joel to say, hey, be a part of my record? And they said, fuck yeah, I'll be a part of that.
Well, it kind of came about step by step. I had just finished a different project called VHF with Tony Franklin. So I asked him first. I said, look, man, I was thinking of doing an album that's just like, we'll get a singer and just have it sound like a band, and we'll take it from there. And I didn't really know all the specifics and the way it was going to work out, but he was cool. And I said, who would you want to use as a drummer? And he was the guy to recommend Vinny. And I was like, dude, that'd be awesome. I've never met Vinny Appice, and I would love to meet him and love to do this with him. And so Tony got us together, and Vinny was cool with it, and so that got the ball rolling. And then Russell Allen had signed up to do the Trans-Siberian Orchestra tour that I do. And when I heard him sing, I was like, oh, man, he's got to be the singer on this. And so I got him in. And then I in addition to some of my background singing on it, I was like, it'd be great to have a really great background singer. So I called in a favor from Jeff Scott Soto. I've co-written with him and played on his stuff in the past. And so he was nice enough to sing some backgrounds on Russell's songs, even though he's way overqualified, and just shows what a good guy he is. And then it was so cool that I was like, dude, you should sing some lead on this too. And so Jeff sang some lead, and then there was still, even though I had a lot of guitars going on, there was still some gaps that needed to be filled, and there was room for textures on it, and that's where Derek Sherinian came into play. I was like, could still stand to get a keyboard player, and I'm going to just start at the top and ask Derek, and he was into it. So, you know, I ended up with this amazing lineup of musicians on it, but really it's almost a series of favors that guys did for me in a way. It was really nice of all these guys to contribute and help bring these songs to life.
Sure, absolutely. Now, was this record in the planning prior to you joining Whitesnake, or since you joined Whitesnake, you thought, you know what, this is an opportunity to raise my profile a little bit, and I have some ideas in my head, so maybe this is the time to jump on it, or how did that work out for you?
No, I mean, it would appear that way on the surface, but it was around long before I even auditioned for Whitesnake. It's really been about 2 years from the time I wrote the first riff and everything till now to get this album out. So, yeah, it was around long before Whitesnake was in the picture.
Sure, absolutely. Now, I've had an opportunity to speak with David Coverdale and interview him, as well as, hang out with him in person on a couple of occasions. And very nice guy, very laid back, always very accommodating. So take us through what it was like for you and you mentioned the word audition. What's an audition for Whitesnake like?
Well, it was really, David had done a lot of research on me on YouTube. So a lot of it came down to, let's just have him out and make sure we get along and that the personalities were a good fit. But we did do some playing. He put up pre-production for the Purple album, which is, of course, the album that came out earlier this year, which is a reimagining of a lot of the songs that David recorded with Deep Purple in his tenure with them. So he put up Lady Double Dealer and had me take a stab at doing a solo on there right on the spot. And pretty much what you hear on the record is what I did on the audition. And then there's a harmony solo that comes right after it that I put that together. And then we did some singing. I think Reb and David wanted to make sure I could sing backgrounds, and so we did a little singing just with acoustic guitars, and that all went well, and I got the gig.
Excellent. So were you confident you were going to get the gig, or were you nervous at all?
A little bit of both. I mean, by the time I went out, I felt like I had the inside track on it because I know David had done a lot of research on me. But at the same time, it's human nature to want to make a good impression and do well. So yeah, there was nerves there for sure.
Right. Well, how did David even become aware of you?
I think there was just some well-respected people that put my name forward to him, and I had actually put out some feelers as well. I wrote management and wrote Reb, and I didn't hear anything back at first. And then I think David was hearing my name more and more from other people and started to look further into me, and that's when he had me out in late May of 2014, I think the end of May.
Wow, look at that. Well, good for you, man. That's a nice little success story. Kind of gives hope and little optimism for people who, maybe have tried hard in their careers to launch it. And, obviously Night Ranger, that's no, local gig. That's a pretty good gig. And 8 years with that's quite a while. And then, of course, I know Rudy played in Night Ranger for a short time there. So is that how you met Rudy?
Are you talking about Rudy Sarzo?
Yes.
Well, no. Rudy and I met finally years and years later. Rudy was in Whitesnake,
right?
Not with Night Ranger.
Oh, right. I'm thinking Blue Oyster Cult. Sorry, but that's.
Oh yeah, no worries. Well, Rudy and I actually we communicated a little bit on Facebook and things like that. But
sure.
We finally met at Randy Rhoads Remembered a couple years ago when Brian Tichy asked me to play at his event. And so finally I got to meet Rudy, and what a sweet guy. Great
very nice
player.
Guy.
Total legend, yeah.
Nice. Well, good for you. Well, tell us a little bit about this new CD, or you said that you did all the writing and, arranging and whatnot. Was there any, did you work with anybody on this as far as the songs or music, or did you do this completely 100% on your own as far as the writing and arranging and lyrics and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, like I said, all that stuff came from me. Russell Allen contributed on the song Changes in terms of the writing ideas. Like he came up with the melody for the verses and changed the chorus. It was a little bit more of a almost Queensryche-ish type of thing happening when I brought it to him, and he took it in a bluesier direction, which is cool. And both Russell and Jeff kind of tweaked some things around to make it easier to sing, because when I'm writing lyrics and things like that, I'm singing it in my head and coming up with a melody, and that's different than when you actually finally project it into a microphone. So there were things that they changed around a little bit here and there, but it's not like it was written like like Mozart or something, where every note needed to be like I'd written it. But I definitely did all the writing on it, and I don't know what else. I mean, I would best describe it, I guess, as Dio-ish at its heaviest and Foreigner-ish at its lightest.
Sure. Now, when it came to getting a record distribution deal with Frontiers, because I know Frontiers is very supportive of what we call classic metal, hard melodic rock acts, whatnot. Did you intend on releasing this through Frontiers when you had the idea and recorded it? Was that already done, or did you plan on maybe self-financing this and releasing it regardless?
Either way, I would have been cool with it either way. And then once I decided I'd record 7 songs, I got all these guys on there and everything, and I would have been totally content putting out a 7-song EP and just having it be a cool project that I put out. But I decided to go for it and took it to Frontiers, and they were into signing it, but they don't do EPs, so it was going to have to be a full-length album. So that meant writing more and getting going the next half of it, so to speak, I guess, to finish it up. But I love the end result. I'm really happy with it. I hope people dig it.
Right. Now, being that MP3s and file transfers and whatnot are so popular these days, especially when it comes to controlling cost of recording, how many of these artists did you actually play in the studio with, or how many of them did you
Zero. It was all, everybody did it from their own place.
Of course they did.
Yeah, it was just, but that's also the nature
that's
of
how it works.
Just the way recording is being done these
right.
days. Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's almost everything that's being done. That's not, but that being said, I mean, it was definitely a project more than a band. It's logistically impossible for anybody to call up people of this stature and say, "Hey, let's start a band."
Yeah.
Everybody's just going to go, "Well, I got other stuff," and I mean, it would take a year just to try and get everybody in the same room together.
Sure.
So, for me, this was a great opportunity to have some of my favorite musicians help me out and bring these songs to life. But it's very much my thing.
Right. Well, let me ask you something. From obviously you've mentioned that you're very satisfied with the final outcome of this. Releasing CDs today obviously is not a lucrative thing at all. Everybody knows that because of, illegal downloading and digital age and whatnot. And obviously you're offering this on iTunes and, Amazon, et cetera, all the typical outlets these days. What is the main drive for an artist to make a full-length CD anymore? Especially since, like you just mentioned, it's not like you're going to form a band or go out maybe even perform this, in a live setting. What is the satisfaction there of just putting a project together and just putting it out there and, I don't know, maybe selling 10,000 copies?
I don't know, man. I love the process, and obviously I love to write and play music. So for me, that's the simple answer. And I suppose business-wise, you never know what can become of anything.
Sure.
I mean, anything can happen. So it's fun from that aspect too. And I think people are still just getting to know me as a guitar player, even. So for me, it just makes solid sense to try and establish myself further as one of the guys in the scene. I wasn't lucky enough to become a rock star at age 20 back when in the 80s you could sell 10 million albums and be an international superstar. I've kind of grown up through this era of it's impossible to sell records, and I don't worry about it, man. I just do what I love and try and make the best of it in terms of the business of it.
Sure.
And hopefully find some kind of success. And like I said, I think really for me the success is just getting through this, not having to do anything else.
Right. Right.
So might not be a matter of like, do I have 5 Ferraris in a mansion? But I feel pretty lucky just to be able to play rock guitar for a living. I think it's a great job.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Joel, I congratulate you on a great release and the fact that you've, accumulated so many friends and acquaintances in the music business that would help you out and, cameo on this. And, I wish you great success and you're in a great band, Whitesnake, which is probably one of my top 10 favorite bands of all time. And, man, I envy you.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I think, it's it'd be a very Spinal Tap for me to say I envy us. I envy us. But, no, I do feel very blessed, as we discussed earlier, to have the opportunity to do all this great stuff. And to be in Whitesnake it's beyond where I probably would have even imagined I was going to be starting out in this as a kid. So.
Right.
For me, I'm the underdog, and I'm playing with house money, so to speak. So the further it goes, the better. Hey, it's all good.
Excellent. Well, is there anything else about this Dying to Live you want to point out to the fans that maybe we haven't touched on at all?
I don't know. I mean, I put it this way. I'm not going to rule out live support of some form for it. Maybe we didn't really touch on that. I mean, I think it's conceivable. And should it get to the point where we can find the right scenario to try and get some of these guys out, I don't know that it would necessarily have to be every single one of them for it still to be star-studded and have it be cool.
Right.
So if there's some kind of live support that can become of it, great. And who knows, man? I mean, the sky would really be the limit for this lineup if everybody were to collaborate and write together and potentially tour together. So you never know where it'll all go, man. That's part of the beauty of it, right?
Absolutely. All right, well, if you want to go check out Joel over at his website, it's joelhoekstra.com, or he's got a Facebook, since Facebook seems to be the way a lot of people interact these days. Joel Hoekstra 13, that's the 1313. Or follow him on Twitter over there at twitter.com/Joel Hoekstra 13. Does that about wrap it up there, Joel?
That does it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, you're very welcome, sir. Well, we always ask the artist a traditional classic metal show question. We've been asking this for about 10 years, and we've got over 300 different answers. So being that this is the first time I've had you on the show, how has Lemmy from Motorhead influenced your career?
Man, I'm not the biggest Motorhead fan, but I guess the most direct thing would be that when we were kids and I lived in Hollywood, we'd all go down early and get into the Rainbow. They wouldn't be karting when it was still dinner time, so we'd go in there at 7, and Lemmy would be parked at the end of the bar. And so I've bought Lemmy some drinks in the past, years and years ago. So I'd say the most direct impact was probably being able to meet him, shake his hand, and buy him a drink a really long time ago.
And he still sits there to this day.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. All right, Joel, I appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us here on the Classic Metal Show. Go pick it up. It's called Dying to Live, Joel Hoekstra's 13. And as a tradition, we always let the artist pick a closing song from the new release and maybe tell us a quick story about it.
Well, what's your fan base the most like? Heavy or lighter, or what do you think?
Well, it is the Classic Metal Show, so it definitely has to be a little heavier.
Okay, well, why don't you play him the opening track on it, Say Goodbye to the Sun. So this song is Russell Allen on the lead vocals, and he's basically singing from the standpoint of all the things that stand in your way and hold you back. And there you go. That's
Excellent. All right, well, here it is. This is brand new Joel Hoekstra's 13 from the Dying to Live release, and this is Say Goodbye to the Sun featuring Russell Allen from Symphony X and Adrenaline Mob, exclusively here on your Classic Metal Show.